So FK spine works the way our human spine does. It moves in this kind of naturalistic way. Then you have IK spine. That's the yellow control here. This is a more cartoony spine controls. It gives you squash and stretch, but you do have to be careful how it moves. That's the spine. Now going to the hip, you normally have 3 different ways of moving the hip. You have the cog. The cog is the center of gravity control. And this is the typical control that I use when moving the hips, because it moves the body as well, which is what happens in real life most of the time. And especially when you're first learning, this is a great way to move the rig because it forces you to think of the character as if they were human. In the sense of, if I move my hips over this way, well, the spine's not in the right spot. It's way too crooked. So I have to straighten my spine. Ta-da! I've got line of action. I've got contrapposto. Done. It forces me to get those in place and avoids this boring straight spine. Now, that's the cog. You also have the FK and IK hip controls. So you have the FK hips right there. That just moves the hips, and you can see the spine isn't affected. The upper body isn't affected. And then you have the IK hips, which honestly are very similar. They just move in a slightly different way. Which ones do you use? Well, it's really up to you. There's no one workflow that is best for everything. I switch between them all the time. Like I said earlier, I like to use the cog for the most part because it forces the upper body to move in a natural way. And you as the animator have to put that in there, otherwise the character is just tilting around like they're an action figure that's just being manipulated. Now, for certain shots, that's kind of a pain because if I'm moving the hips a lot, let's say for a dance, for example, you have a lot of hip motion, but the character's spine stays centered. Think of like the hula or dances like that. You have a lot of hip motion, but not a lot of spine motion. The head's not doing this. If I'm having to animate the cog, that means I'm always counter animating the spine. That's going to be a pain. In those cases, I might use the FK hip control here, so I can animate the hips, and then I'll just add an extra layer of animation to the cog side to side and to move the character. But then the upper spine, I'm never having to counter animate. This way I can adjust the hip flexibility and motion in the character without affecting my spine. Now for the IK hips, these are great controls for if you have to have a character sit, let's say, on a horse, and they're riding the horse and you want the hips to go up and down with the horse. Well, you can have those go up and down like so, and kind of lock those on, and then you're done. And essentially what you would do is you would animate the chest and hips like this together, like that, and then you can offset just the chest. And actually, let's do this here. So this is going to be very basic, but if I animate the FK chest and hips going up, and then let's go back down. So imagine this character is riding a horse. So we go, oh, and I'm still in step mode. Let's go here, Windows, Animation, Editors, Graph Editor. Take my curves, set these into splines. So if we get this motion now, we get that up and down as if they're riding a horse. I can just take my spine control and offset it. And now we get this. And you get that, this is very basic, it looks terrible. But you can see how as the character goes down, the hips start to come up while the chest keeps coming down. We get this overlapping action, which gets you that nice kind of organic feeling to the character riding the horse. Now you'd have to build in some extra stuff, some more rotations, get the clavicles in there, make sure the spine isn't just compressing and crushing into itself. But very quickly you can get organic motion without having to counter a bunch of stuff and make a whole mess of things. So which controls should you use? Whichever is best for the situation, and explore. Try them out. Do a shot where you animate a walk with a cog. Do a walk where you animate the shot with the hip control. Do a shot where you animate using the IK spine instead of the FK spine. See which one feels better to you. That's the best way to learn.